Hello, everyone. Diego Reyes, functional medicine practitioner, functional health coach. Today, I want to go through my comprehensive guide on all of peptide and hormone therapy. First and foremost, this is not medical advice. Please always consult with a licensed physician before making any dietary, supplemental, hormonal, or peptide therapy in your regime. With that being said, this is going to entail tons of information. Now, if you have this PDF, I want you to have this by your side. If you are more of a visual, or I should say, audio type learner, this is going to be a significant resource for you. And if you're someone who wants to just read through it, then you can have the guide most definitely. And I'll link it below this video. This is going to break up many different things. I have about 46 pages here, so I tried to condense it. My prior one was about 80 pages, and we're going to pretty much go through everything in what I've seen and am seeing right now in clinical practice working the best for all types of issues, conditions, and then also longevity and body optimization. My goal for you is to take this resource and be able to help yourself. Now, obviously, like any service person, if you do want to have that more intimate support through me and you want to have more of a approach that gives you exactly what you need and there's no guessing, you can obviously hire me for your physician practitioner and get incredible prices, save money, and get guaranteed results. But for those that want to do it themselves, which I'm fully for, I'm here to help you walk through that yourself. So, I also want to reiterate, or I should say, explain a little bit about what I'm talking about in a lot of these different types of writing that I've made here. Okay. So, first things first is we want to explain about what this guide is. It's going to cover everything in terms of different conditions that you may be struggling or people you know may be struggling with, different symptoms and issues as well, and then also helping with optimization. Okay. First things first is if you're not sure, a peptide is a short chain of amino acids. I have different videos on my platform that explain peptides in depth, but for now, I'm going to leave it at that. Think about peptides as little types of signals that our body already produces right now that does millions of different things. Helps with hunger cues, helps with growth hormone. This is a hormone that helps with collagen production, regeneration, tissue, ligament. Think about peptides that help with mitochondrial function. So we have these. And what happens is that over the years, over time, our body is not receiving or giving these signals that like it once was. So that's why when you supplement a peptide, you are pretty much in the best way possible reversing the aging process that your body is naturally going under. Because aging is not truly a choice. Uh, it's just something that we all endure. But today, in today's time, there's so many different modalities that we can introduce that can get the aging process to be quelled and, I should say, honestly, eradicated. So the first things first is we need to make sure that the terrain is great. So that's why lab testing is the first thing that I always suggest. Now with my patients in my practice, and I've helped over 600 patients at this moment in the past half decade of my practice experience and just ruthlessly executing every day, you need to test and not guess. I'm telling you, if you go in blindly, you will not help yourself, you will hurt yourself. Okay. That's why testing is so critical when it comes to not just peptide therapy, but honestly any modality that you're doing. Because if you're just taking things like even just supplements and you don't know if you actually need them, then you're going to waste your money. Then you're honestly wasting your time because you're going to expect this supplement to do something, but you don't even know what you might need it for. So another big thing is that we have this paradigm with our conventional medicine doctor, our allopathic physician, general practitioner, PCP, that just because they say your labs are normal does not mean they're actually normal. And you may know this personally on a personal level because you hear that from your physician and you know that you're not normal because you don't feel nowhere close. And that's because the average ranges that they're using is actually of a sick population. Okay, I'll say that once more. The reference ranges they're using is of someone who is sick and unwell. And as a nation, we are unfortunately getting even more sicker and more unwell. So, what I have here is no, by no means do you have to run all these specific lab panels. Now, if you want to run it, I can help you set this up. I actually have the resource here and different resources like in my school group, Peptide Foundations by Diego Reyes. I have all that for you. But I want to go through some of the markers that will be helpful if you are dealing with any type of, let's say, low energy, chronic fatigue, weight gain, weight loss resistance, or you might suspect hormonal deficiency, whether it be perimenopause, menopause, or if you're a male who's just not optimizing or recovering the same like you did prior. And that can go as female as well. So I want to go in depth here with that. So first things first is with the studies that I did when I was in school with endocrinology, this is one of the most flaws, the highest flaw I'm seeing right now in conventional Western model, and that is thyroid testing. Now, this video is not about thyroid testing, but I want to show you what typically happens is people are only getting their TSH tested. This is thyroid stimulating hormone. The funny thing about this is that we consider this a thyroid test, but technically it's not even a hormone, or I should say a value marker that actually dictates what's happening at the thyroid gland in itself. What that means is that TSH is a pituitary hormone. So that's in our brain that gets signaled to then our thyroid tissue, which is actually what we want to read and so forth. So this is not to devalue TSH because it's an incredible marker, but it's only one part of the puzzle. What actually matters the most, and this is what gets tested the least, is active T3. T3 is what actually binds to our cells in our body and makes every cell jostle. It essentially creates metabolic functions, gives your cells the energy. It is actually what matters the most when it comes to thyroid hormone. With that being said, I have the lab normal ranges and then I have the optimal ranges. Now, like I said, I'm not going to go through every single value marker, but I'm just showing you. And then the number one thing is the antibodies. About 90% of hypothyroidism is Hashimoto's. I'm going to go through some of these now. A1Cs usually dismissed. HSCRP, inflammation, typically does get ran, thankfully. But there, if you need to be severely inflamed for them to actually have a red flag, but that is not true at all. Even just a one point MGL can indicate that there's some significant inflammation in the body, whether that be from the GI tract or from, let's say, even your cardiac center, so anywhere around your heart. That is red flags. Now, the number one thing too that I love testing my clients because they don't have to go buy some $600 MTHFR gene test is a homocysteine. And homocysteine test is an incredible, valuable test that can help understand methylation, detoxification, and other different systems and functions in your body that relates to methylation. Okay. This is always critical because what we have seen is that if it's too high or if it's too low, there's a methylation issue. It's like Goldilocks. Think about your hormones. Now, for men, there is some nuance there, or even for females, having higher testosterone is always perhaps a little bit good, unless it's a PCOS case for a female. But that's just to give it some context. Vitamin D is always getting undervalued and so forth. But I want to get to some of the sex hormones real quick. Testosterone men. Anything below 700, in my opinion, for total testosterone is hypogonadism. And we know this symptomatically. And the issue, too, is that in today's time, we are more testosterone depleted than ever before. And whether that be from our environment and the way of living, which it truly is both, but more of environment, it is honestly more critical than ever before to get this level tested. Now, free testosterone is what actually matters most because that's what's freely getting used in our body. Total is just showing us, oh, okay, I have this much hormone, but free is like how much is it actually being used. Same for females. And now with females, it is so, I'm telling you this personally, the amount of females that I've helped with getting on hormone replacement therapy and their lives have transformed dramatically. Libido, drive for life, intimacy, just everything, weight loss, body composition, tighter, toner, leaner is astonishing. And no, you don't grow hair, you don't get a deeper voice if you're a female wanting to try testosterone. You get back to the levels that you once were because it's hormone replacement therapy. It's not anything like abusing anabolic steroids like someone might do for performance reasons, which may have its time and place. I'm fully aware of that. And then going to the next hormone, estradiol. Now, I'm not going to get into it between male, female, estradiol, ways to manipulate estradiol as a male, and then what to do about the different hormone replacement therapy modalities for estrogen. Okay, I get into that in many different topics, and I can as well if you want me to. But I'm just giving some reference ranges here and what that may look like, okay? All right, now I want to skip over the lab testing because that's typically the first part. Now, if you don't want to go to lab testing and you know what you want for your peptides, I'm okay with that in terms of like, I can understand why. Because some of the peptides, while it's incredibly smart to get tested, and it would be irresponsible for me not to say anything, you can most definitely start a few different peptides if you would want without the lab testing prior, but I do not condone, but I understand. Now, I'm not going to go through every single intricate type of peptide protocol that I like running because you can kind of see it here and read it. But I want to talk about the GLPs. Now, GLPs, I got three separate GLPs located here. Now, there's some coming out, like the oral GLPs, and then some of the newer generations, and then soon there'll be even newer ones. But I have retatrutide triple agonist GLP, I have tirzepatide dual agonist, and then I have semaglutide, which is just the GLP receptor agonist, which semaglutide really works on appetite because it's working on the glucagon like peptide 1. That is a hormone excreted by the gut. It is very common, also known as Ozempic, but unfortunately we have found out a lot now recently that it has caused a lot more harm than good. And whether that be from the individual and patient not actually adequately adhering to nutrition and training and exercise and lifestyle correctly is neither here nor there. Now, regardless, if you are doing all the things dialed in, I still think tirzepatide or retatrutide is going to work better for you as an individual because getting that insulin under control, getting that blood sugar, let's say regulation too, under control, not just the insulin blood sugar, I know they go hand in hand, is the biggest component to help with honestly decreasing all cause mortality, improving metabolic markers, improving weight loss, improving mood, improving visceral fat loss, and so much more. So I really do think that's incredible. Now, with the retatrutide or even tirzepatide, I like starting at 500 micrograms twice per week. Now, that's going to be specific cases. Now, if you don't respond after that, that's okay because you can totally move up. I typically like to move up 500 micrograms week over week or every 2 weeks. And that would just be moving up like 5 units on a U100 insulin syringe if needed. AOD, I love that peptide. It's not a GH fragment peptide, but it's a part of the GH fragment, I should say, and it helps with reducing visceral fat. And then I have, like I said, a multitude of different peptides here. Now, going through this, I have different peptide protocols, okay? And we can get into that and go over that, and we will. And like I said, you can skip along to this video and find what would be helpful for you. But I actually want to go to the index here, which I don't know if I had one here. Probably not. Okay. But we'll go through it one by one. So I have protocols, and we'll go through them slightly together. So weight loss and insulin resistance. So when we think about weight loss and trying to lose weight, the first thing we need to understand is what is the why behind it. All right, it's not a deficiency in metformin. It's not a deficiency in GLP hormone, where it actually might be. But it's understanding what is going on. Why is weight not moving after doing everything? So this is why I talk about the labs first, because you want to understand, is your fasted insulin elevated? Because now you know how to target, okay, I'm going to target my insulin receptors right away. So if I'm going to target my insulin receptors right away, I probably wouldn't use semaglutide. I'd probably use tirzepatide or even retatrutide, because retatrutide is going to have that glucagon agonist. And what that means essentially is that when insulin lowers, glucagon increases. And what that allows you to do is shuttle more fats out of your liver and other fat cells and be used for energy. It's like dragging that out of your body and being like, hey, get this off me. Looking at also free T3 and reverse T3. I'm telling you, thyroid, undervalued in fat loss right now. Inflammation, and then even looking at that. So there's a few different ways that we can do this. The first way is that you can use semaglutide off the bat, because the reason why I put this here is because, like, if you're someone who's new to the game, or you're new to this, which maybe you're not, especially if you're watching this, then you want to start on the less aggressive side. But I honestly would put tirzepatide here as well, and then do AOD and CJC ipamorelin. And this is going to be a huge synergistic combo because you have one that's helping with appetite regulation and insulin signaling. So now you're eating less, you're improving the nutrient partitioning of your food, and that's going to help with how your body is processing that and then metabolizing it, so burning it in your body. You then have AOD 9604 that's taking a lot of our stored tissue and using it for fat, or I should say for energy, our fat tissue used for energy, so then we can start to burn that excess body fat. And then the CJC ipamorelin is going to be a GH secretagogue. So it's going to be a GHRP and then a GHRH. So CJC 1295 no DAC is going to be a peptide that's used to help with telling our hypothalamus to produce growth hormone. So that's going to signal to our pituitary, and then we're going to get a release. Now, the ipamorelin is what gives it a stronger pituitary release. What that means is that since it's a GHRP, it's a peptide that tells a pituitary peptide hormone, somatotropin, to increase more. So now you're going to get a more pronounced effect of the growth hormone. And so now you're hitting it in different angles because you're not only just focusing on reducing the visceral fat, improving with appetite regulation, but you're also helping with retaining muscle, because that's what the growth hormone peptides are going to do. They're going to help you with retaining that muscle and letting that IGF-1 still be increased despite maybe you eating in a catabolic state, which is where we want to be. We want to be more of like us burning the stored tissue for energy than trying to just keep building all the time. There's a time and place for it all. All right, now if we want to go to advanced metabolic syndrome, now this would be an individual perhaps looking to lose 30, 45 pounds, 35 pounds, maybe even 25 pounds, but really that much. And what we're looking at right now is going to be retatrutide, tesamorelin, MOTS-c, and AOD. Same rationale, but stronger. Now, we added the tesamorelin because it's going to be a GH secretagogue for sure, so it's a GHRH, but it's going to be more targeting on that visceral fat, so a lot of visceral fat. And so this is where I can work synergistically. Now, as you can see here in some of these protocols, I have an 8-week cost, a 12-week cost, 24-week cost, and how many vials you need. And I did this because now you can just purchase it through me and get it all taken care of for you. So you know how much you're going to take, and this is based off some of the dosing. And so you have everything there for you. And so now you don't have to understand like how much is this going to cost, and it's just straight up there. And you can always mix and match some of the stuff too. Like you can use different products, or you can take out one, or you can add another, and just kind of build a stack yourself. So that was just a quick review, and I'll have videos perhaps here now with different types of protocols going more in depth. But I just want to leave that here for now. Now, gut barrier repair and leaky gut. Now, this is actually something I work on tremendously, and so IBS, IBD, chronic bloating, chronic constipation, diarrhea, acid reflux, indigestion. I've helped it all, and I've done a lot of in-depth testing for that. That's like stool testing, gut zoomer, GI map, histamine, and then obviously the blood testing. But this is something I'm passionate about because GI issues are super, I should say, undervalued in the terms of care that someone receives when they have this problem. And so I made these protocols, honestly, from like anything here, real world application. Now, a lot of people like to bash on the oral peptides to help with, or I should say, bash on the oral peptides because they say they're not absorbable, all the different things. And I definitely agree with a lot of that. But the thing is that some of the oral peptides you do not even want to be, or I should just frame it as most oral peptides, I should say, that you're going to use for a gut case, you want them to break down in the gut. You want them to dissolve in the gut, break down the gut line in the stomach acid, because that's where you're going to receive the most benefit from it. And so, no, if I have a torn shoulder, meniscus, ACL, I'm not going to use oral BPC. But if I have chronic inflammation in the gut, and let's not forget about what the gut actually does, it's more than just a digestive organ. It helps with immune system. It helps with even heart health. It helps with even insulin sensitivity. It helps with mood regulation, neurotransmitter health. It also helps with even hormone production and hormone detoxification, and also detoxification. So when you have a gut issue, you virtually kind of have an issue everywhere. And you can find studies and everything that explains how the body is synergistically getting influenced by the gut microbiome. And a fun fact is you have more gut cells, or I should say more gut bacteria, than cells in your body. All right, you have more gut bacteria than that. Now, what I have here is I have a peptide stack and dosing. So I'm going to scroll down here. So I have oral BPC or injectable, and then I have KPV capsules, GHKCU, and LL37. All right. Now you can use the capsules here. I put injectable because it's going to be a little bit more affordable. And for some people, it could be a little bit more effective and they want the injection, but you could also do capsules and that will have tremendous benefit as well. All right, going to the next one, autoimmune support, foundational immune regulation. So this is going to be anyone with like Hashimoto's, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, psoriasis, multiple sclerosis, IBD. We've spoken about it here prior. And anything, honestly, that you're seeing where the immune system is just mistakenly attacking some organ, tissue, or whatever. All right. Now, with that being said, there's a lot of nuance here, so I'm not really going to get into it. I'm just going to go to the peptide stack. If you want to read more about it, like I've helped people with autoimmune conditions every single day. I'm doing it. And so if you want more help individually, I'm here for you. But with that being said, peptide stack protocols. So I have a thymosin alpha 1 injectable, and then I have a thymosin alpha 1 capsule. I would suggest using both because what the thymosin alpha 1 is going to do, it's going to stimulate the thymus, which is where our immune system is going to be regulated. It's going to help either calm it down, which is what we need it. We need it to calm down as opposed to increase. So it's a modulator. So it helps with calming it down. Now, if you're someone who gets sick, it helps strengthen the immune system as well. And it goes hand in hand. It wants to balance things out. That's how our body works. It wants to stay at what's called homeostasis. All right, it's super critical. And then I have KPV capsules, which is going to quell the GI inflammation, support intestinal lining repair, since a lot of increased permeability, leaky gut, is associated with autoimmune conditions and issues. And then I have BPC and then LL37. Now, LL37 is an undervalued peptide when it comes to biofilm disruption and bacteria overgrowth. What happens a lot with the immune system is that it can find some type of thing that it will think that it is an invader to the point where it will over exacerbate and cause that immune system attack. And one of those things is a bacterial or viral infection. And what LL37 does is gets rid of this viral or bacterial infection, whether it be EBV, Lyme, and this is not guaranteed, but this is how the science is, and then or also SIBO or Candida. Like these are different bacterial viral, or I should say bacterial infections. Okay, Hashimoto's, I've gotten into that a little bit by getting the immune system to calm down and not just treat the hormone. You can also treat the hormone as well. All right, so I want to talk about perimenopause, hormonal transition support. Okay, so what I'd have to say here is this is where I talk about a lot of the hormone replacement therapy medication. All right, remember this is not medical advice, but this could be significantly helpful. So I have here kind of the dosing and strategies we are doing here for females with these issues, like the exact dosing. Now, it's all about your symptoms. So I want to preface that. Like what you see here is not what actually matters the most as a client, or I should say patient or someone. Because what matters is what you're feeling. Okay? There's a saying that says symptoms trump labs. It's very true. Like you have to understand if you no matter what how much you're taking, no matter what your blood values are saying and test, you need to go for what you feel. Okay? And I see this all the time because women are taking these hormones and they're not feeling better. Well, number one, it's because it's not fixing the root cause, but number two, it's because they're listening to their physician who's just treating a piece of paper, and that's not really treating you as the individual. Okay, so I talked about some hormones here, but then going into peptide stacking, I have some different stuff here, and that's just to get into a lot of the perimenopause hormonal transition support. Now, if you want more help with that, you can obviously reach out to me, but I wanted to leave that for there, and we'll go from there. Okay, so now I have low testosterone for men who do not want to get on TRT. Okay, so testosterone replacement therapy has its time and place, but there's a lot of different things that you can do to optimize your testosterone without injecting testosterone in itself. Now, if you want to inject testosterone, I have given some recommendations, some conservative, I should say, recommendations, but I definitely have my own thing. And then I have tadalafil that you can add into the protocol as well to improve many other facets in your life and blood flow. And there's a lot of good research on it. Now, I want to get to the peptide stack, Kisspeptin. Kisspeptin is an amazing peptide to help with naturally producing testosterone because it's going to signal LH, luteinizing hormone, and FSH, follicular stimulating hormone, to your gonads to create more testosterone. It's also going to improve sperm production and sperm motility. So that's also going to help with fertility overall. So that's going to be critical, as if infertility being one of the leading issues that's going on right now in our country. Now, I have another one called gonadorelin as well. It's a compound that's going to help with producing more of that FSH and LH, just a little bit stronger than the kisspeptin. So you're going to get that strong pulse and then that huge increase in testosterone as well. And then I have CJC ipamorelin because when you improve growth hormone, you'll improve every single hormone in your body, recovery, uh, cortisol reduction, and so many different things, which will all play a part in testosterone optimization. Okay, now I have injury recovery and tissue repair. Now, this is actually something I want to talk about because most people get this wrong. If you want to fix the issue, you need at least 1,000 micrograms or 1 milligram minimal of either BPC and TB500. If you are supplementing, or I should say taking these peptides and you're not using these dosages, you are not getting the most beneficial effect, in my personal opinion and what I've seen with clients. Now, this isn't to say the 500 micrograms, 250 micrograms is not useful. I think it's significantly useful. But for dramatic changes where you're going to see that difference and more so feel that difference is using those higher amounts. Now, GHKCU, I like 2.5 milligrams to 3 milligrams a day, and that's going to be 5 days on, 2 days off. CJC ipamorelin, and the dosing was listed above, but I just wanted to leave that here. So mitochondrial reset and energy, kind of have that here. I have SS31, MOSI, NAD. Now this is very extreme, so you need to do this with caution or start with 1 or 2 minimal or maximum if you have not used these mitochondrial peptides before. Okay. I then have sleep, cognitive support, and so I'm going to skip over some of these now. I believe we'll get into that into a different video, but I want to get into here's the pricing for everything as well. Okay, and then I have pretty much the oral capsules. So we have a plethora of oral capsules here, different ones, dihexa, tesofensine, and then the shipping options we have. Okay, now I have the medication and supplement pricing as well. So you can buy, I have my own telemedicine company, and so you'll be able to get that from me if you need to. So clomiphene and all these different medications. And then lab testing, you can get it through me. And then if you want coaching services or coaching programs, I have that located here. Okay, I wanted to give all this information. I got to get back to the next client here. So let me know if there's anything. And if you love this video, ask for this PDF and you want more information, you can always text me. My information's on here. This is my personal cell. Reach out to me. That's how you're going to get to me the fastest. You can always reach out to my Instagram, Diego Reyes Health. This is my website that needs to be already done. So hopefully this is a blessing for you, and we'll talk soon.